Welcome to the Autospeed podcast, home of stock car and banger racing in the southwest.
Drivers, start your engines.
Welcome to the second episode of the Autospeed podcast. I'm Crispen Rosevear. Later on we will hear from stock rod star Callum Hosie, which unavoidably includes a reflection on that puncture which Callum suffered whilst leading the 2022 World Championship at St Day. We will also hear from Adam Pearce as he and his son Rory prepare for the new season. But before then, we are indebted to roving reporter Alistair Oxby. The Ox was at the United Downs Raceway on Sunday the 19th of February, and he grabbed a few words with national banger drivers Ryan Sparks and Aaron Dark.
We're now at St Day with Ryan Sparks, who earlier today won the wildcard event in Unlimited National Bangers, and that gets you through to the Gold Top event, the World Final at Smeatharp in July. Pleased to be through this early in the season, not got things to worry about now?
Yeah, I suppose so. See what happens, isn't it?
In reality, probably someone who does support the meetings as well as you do, it's maybe not going to make a huge difference to the meetings that you race at this year, is it? But still, it's exciting not to have to worry about where you go in the qualifying rounds now.
Yeah, it always makes it easier if you're straight in and don't have to worry about it on the day, I suppose, if there is a last chance qualifier, that is.
Yeah, absolutely, and been going very, very well, certainly last 2-3 years at Taunton from the meetings that I've seen down there. You must fancy your chances now as you progress through the ranks. Really quick every time pretty much around there, and that gold roof has got to be within your clutches, hasn't it?
I don't know so much. It is anyone's race on the day. It doesn't matter where you start, really. One crash can take everyone out, can it? As we know.
Absolutely, yeah, anything can go. At the end of the day, it's banger racing, but you've certainly got the speed, if nothing else, and you must think that maybe even if it's not this year, that your chance has got to come sometime soon.
Maybe not. We'll see what happens. Obviously, you just got to find the gaps and don't rip your wheels off.
Absolutely, always helps with four corners facing the right way, but I think it's time to wish you the very, very best of luck over there in July, and of course with all of your racing between now and then, I'm sure you'll be doing plenty.
Try and do a bit, try and do a couple of away meetings, support the locals, and go from there, isn't it?
Yeah, support all the local meetings and bit travelling on the cards as well?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what we can do. Obviously, juggling family and work and racing is never easy, is it?
No, there's a lot of things to juggle, but anywhere in particular that takes your fancy for an away day?
I'd like to do Milton or Northampton, a couple of shell tracks, not raced there before. Yeah, why not?
Excellent. Shale experience, is that something you've got a little bit of, but would like to do more?
Not particularly, no. Done it in a front wheel drive a few times, done it in rear wheel drive once, but didn't really get very far, so yeah.
So yeah, that's the next challenge then, maybe.
Yeah, it's always nice flicking a car around, isn't it? So we'll see what happens.
Excellent. Well, we'll wish you the very best in that World Championship race. It's a long way away in July, but all the best for that. And enjoy the remainder of today, and indeed any away days that you get in between supporting the local scene.
Happy days, appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ryan.
Cheers, thank you.
So we're now at St Day with national banger driver Aaron Dark, number 355, better known as Dribbler. And, well, this year it's looking set to be a really, really busy one for you. You're really absolutely up for it as we enter a New Year's racing, aren't you?
Yeah, something like that, really. Try and do a few meetings as many as I can, really.
Yeah, looking forward to plenty of racing and supporting the local scene, but getting out and about and travelling a bit as well.
Yeah, so do all the local ones, try to get some points and try and travel, do some more different tracks, just a few different things really. Try to do the bigger meetings really. Yeah,
that's it. Obviously you've started with some of the BWS rounds already, and focusing I think probably more here at Autospeed, looking more probably at the Entertainers League by the looks of how you're starting the year out, and trying to make your name that way, and clearly looking forward to plenty of crashing and getting some good battles going.
Yeah, I'm not really quick enough to win, so I just go up for a crash, to be honest. So it is what it is. I just build whatever I've got and whatever. Yeah.
That's true bangers, though, isn't it? Yeah, that's the spirit of what it was supposed to be. And life has got very quick. It's got quite expensive, but this job needs more people with your sort of attitude that have that, whatever comes in the yard, whatever we pick up, we'll put it together, we'll take it somewhere, we'll get a smile on the face and we'll have a good time.
Yeah, pretty much, to be honest. Just, try and entertain a little bit if I can. I know not that long ago, I was young and I was watching, and that's all I've aspired to do, really. So, it's funny, I was only talking earlier about how I remember my first ever meeting, which was here in 2008, Blockbuster. And it's just a good bit of crashing, that's all I've ever looked forward to, really.
Yeah, and certainly it's a good way. It's going to get you noticed, and I think you've got a bright future in bangers in the southwest, and indeed on the wider scale as you continue to grow. Looking at this year, it's going to be about having fun. It's going to be about crashing. But anywhere in particular that you've not been before that you fancy going to this year?
I want to do Lynn on rear-wheel drive. Really, I've not done that yet. To be honest, I want to take them all off if I can, apart from the top of the country. I can't travel that far, but try and do as many as I can, really.
Yeah. So anything that takes your fancy to about halfway up?
Yeah, whatever, really. Yeah, if it's a decent meeting and it's worth going to, and I've got a decent car for it, I'll go.
Excellent. Well, we can't fault that. We'll wish you the very, very best of luck for a great season ahead. I can see loads of enthusiasm, and it's going to be a great year ahead and a great career in National Bangers.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Excellent. Aaron, thank you very much.
Thanks again there to the Ox for his roving reporting in the pits at St Day. Moving on now to our first guest this week, and that's Stock Rod star Callum Hosie. Welcome, Callum.
Hello, good evening.
So here we are on the eve of a new season, and you pretty much have got a new car, because the car that you're presumably going to race for the new season is the one that just made a few appearances at the end of last year.
Yeah, made a very scraped appearance at the last Smithfield meeting. My last car before just got a bit too worse for wear. There's only so much you can patch up an old quilt. So we thought, we'd bring it out. It was actually mainly for the national up in Scotland.
Uh-huh.
But you'd have to be a very braver man than me to take a brand new car that you've never been in to Scotland. So we thought we'd burn the midnight oil and bring it out at Smithfield.
Uh-huh. And then there was Bristol in between as well.
Yeah, Bristol as well, yeah. I think it was a Wednesday evening at Bristol. And it was really just every new car has teething problems, bolts come loose, etc. It was just to give it a quick shakedown and make sure it was good for the cow and beef, really. And obviously from now on in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the old car, which you affectionately referred to as the shed, that has finally died, or?
Yeah, I think it's actually across the road in Orchards at the moment.
Okay, so that one truly has gone then.
Yeah. It's been salvaged. A few of the local lads have nicked bits off it. Not nicked, but taken bits off it.
Uh-huh.
So she may still live on in some aspect.
Parts of her will still be being used. Obviously, the World Championship at St Day is just...
Yeah.
Are you haunted by that, or?
In a way, I'd rather have it happened in that way than to have been like stopped or made a mistake in that sense. So how we got ahead of Reese was he made a mistake on choice of line.
Yeah.
I'd have kicked myself if I'd have been in his position. Unfortunately, if I'd have chosen a line and someone else had fortuned from that. I'm kind of not happy in a sense, but in the sense of not finishing it, I think that's probably one of the better ways to not have finished the race.
Yeah, okay, I sort of understand that you can't blame yourself. It's totally out with your control.
Yeah. Like if something had gone wrong on the car, that would have been our fault from the pits. Then again, I'd kick myself. But you can't. You couldn't even put money on it at a bet that you'd get a puncture. I think I've raced stock rods for 5 years now, and I've only ever had one puncture, and that was because the metalwork of the car hit the tyre. I've never had a puncture.
All those times. And I have to express a bit of ignorance. I'm not entirely sure what it was that went wrong in Scotland. But you were in the lead in Scotland as well?
Yeah, and I qualified pole, which the reason I got disqualified is my own fault, and I just see the funny side of it is my exhaust fell off. My own fault for using Jubilee clips as an exhaust clamp. Okay. But again, it's been on the car for 4 years. Never been a problem. sort of another reason why we rushed to get the new car ready for Scotland is they have a different spring package from down here, and throughout the year for the shed, I had to keep adjusting springs because of how bent the car was. So I didn't really want to put the Scottish package on the car to find out it was like a bag of nails up there. It's 350 quid in diesel. It's not worth going unless you're going. So yeah, so the car was ultimately like a couple inches lower. I think the exhaust just scraped on the trailer. Annoyingly so, I knew it scraped on the trailer and should have been like, I'll just check that. But it's again, 4 or 5 years, never a problem. And just one of those things. But to come away from the weekend with the fastest laps and to qualify pole on their terms is 100%. I think like the fact that I didn't retain it isn't bothered in that sense. I think same as the world. Straight away I was like, just the next race I want to win. I'm not. Don't dwell on anything in that sense. Yeah.
And the tracks you raced on last year, obviously with the opportunity of going to Skegness, and Caddenbeath, I think is very different. It's very different to St Day, but the two tracks were a little bit Marmite. I always find with St Day that people come to St Day and they say that they either love it or they hate it. Yeah. If they love it, they normally scream, "Can you not move it like further up country?" So it's not so far to travel. But Caddenbeath as well is also a track which I think people they either fall in love with it because it's such a challenge, or they're just intimidated by it.
Yeah, totally, and both aspects. That if at either track it goes wrong big time. It's not like at Taunton or any other generic oval track where it goes wrong, you have a bit of leeway, etc. If it goes wrong at any of those tracks, then yeah, it definitely goes wrong. And on part of that is, I think Caddenbeath for me was my fourth time. And the first time was really well. I was keeping with the top guys. And then each time I went, my performance there got less and less. So it was almost in a point I was going there thinking, I'm going there to defend my title. And I didn't think I had a chance because of how the performance-wise went from the previous attempts. But no, when you get the line up there, it's a different feeling, 100%.
For sure.
And then same as like Skegness and Bristol, we've done a few times before, but to have the opportunities to go to those different tracks is great. And almost on the terms of, because you ran it as a championship, everyone was on mutual grounds, so it was actually a lot more enjoyable trying to get ahead of the guys because no one knew what you were doing. You go and practice and then you try something different. And there's a load of us who were really quick in practice, and then come to race, the race pace was different. And Skegness was a different track, yeah. I really enjoyed it. But tyre wear was phenomenal. I don't know how
Was it?
Yeah. The almost like, I know we don't race Birmingham, but the F2 lot will know the tyre wear at Birmingham.
For sure, Birmingham will have the worst reputation for tyres. Yeah.
I found that with maybe it's the way our cars are set up, but Skegness was the same. I used about 8 tyres that weekend, and I've not put another one back on the car because of the pitting and I couldn't cut them straight again. Yeah,
Crumbs, that's quite a surprise, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. So looking on the horizon, we've got open track days.
Yep.
Can you how valuable is a practice day? Does it depend on the weather or?
Track time, regardless, is like I feel it's the most valuable thing. When we grew up, we had St Callum was only like 10 minutes away from our house, and I think for 2 years straight I did every Saturday practice day, to the point in the end we had a key to the gate, and we were just allowed to go in and practice if the owner wasn't there, and every day is a different day. So having the 2 track days is, you could learn so much valuable information and lines, and even just to follow someone else's line that you wouldn't get to in a race scenario.
Okay.
Because there's only just in the last year or two, there's bumps and divots in these 2 tracks that I'd always hit before, whereas from a practice day and talking to another driver or following their line, you realise you can do this corner and not hit the bump.
Right. Okay.
Which then entails a whole different setup to the car, because you've not had to set it up for the bump.
Yeah. Which obviously hitting a bump or something's just going to unsettle the car.
Totally, yeah, and it especially in a non-contact formula where the corners are probably the most important part. Having an unsettled car can bring a whole fathom of problems.
Whole raft of problems, yeah, and issues and everything. You know, I had practice day typically is so early in the season that you can never guarantee the weather at any stage.
No.
But is there actually some kind of an advantage if a practice day is wet, because that gives you experience of the circuit in different conditions, or is that no, we just get wet?
100%. There was a time 2 or 3 years ago. You ask people for their opinion for a setup, and some people will tell you just straight. Other people won't tell you, which is fine. That's great. But other people will tell you A, what they think they know, or B, what the person next to them has told them.
Yeah.
And well, you don't know if the person next to them that's told them is genuine.
Or bluffing.
So there's always been this set of a, like you say, the practice days, 9 times out of 10, Smith Up's always wet. and St Day is normally just really cold. But there was a time a few years ago where we'd heard these rumours about, try this in a wet setup.
Yeah.
And I'd never really got to grips with the wet. And it was John Hardin that said, just do this. Don't do what they're saying. Just do this. And I think we took almost a second off our lap time, just in that one instance.
Just by one little tidbit of information.
Yeah. And it's not, on the flip side of that, it's not necessarily something you'd want to try on a race day.
Yes.
Because you could lose on a practice day. After 2 laps, you think, no, this is rubbish. I'll just pull in.
Yeah.
And you've lost 8 laps. Well, when you're chasing the points championship, or you're trying to qualify for the final, you don't really want to waste that opportunity to stray away from what you know works. Yeah, totally.
In terms of the we spoke a little bit about last season, and what about this season? You're planning to do as much as you can, I would guess.
Totally, yeah. Probably not to the happiness of my partner. But we're already looking for obviously the World Finals in Ireland.
Yes.
I've been across to Notts Corner but never raced there. So we're hoping to go in April.
For their early weekend, early season weekend. Yep.
Again, sort of practice day scenario. Could be wet, could be dry, but for me it's just track time. Because for me, with my job, it's very seasonal. So to book September off, I have to book it off
real early.
Yeah, exactly. So to take 4 days off in September, I think I'd rather go in April, and if I really don't enjoy it, I wouldn't go in September.
Yes.
Because of stuff with our business, it's more valuable for me to be here.
Yeah.
But if April goes really well, obviously, as soon as I get back, the ticket would be booked and we'd be going. But yeah, obviously, I don't think I have missed a domestic meeting in the last few years.
No.
Really bad for if the car is there and it's ready, it will be raced, and I can't not sit back and watch. I just have to do it. I don't know. It's like a drug, I think.
You're really addicted to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And the opportunity, the Skegness weekend has moved. It's moved out of the, last year it was in July and just sort of at the edge of peak summer. So I think the prices and everything for everyone to stay there was quite quite something. And I think so. Where we discussed with the promotion at Skegness, we chose another weekend. So I'm hoping it'll be a little bit cheaper for people.
Yeah, and I think what was really nice for us to see was like the camaraderie between a lot of the drivers, because I understand in the flare of the moment people fall out, and I think I have heard a comment from a marshal go, "Oh, bloody stop rods again," causing the commotion in the heat at the moment. But to see in Skegness, there was on the caravan sites, there was people clubbing in, all staying in the same caravan, obviously to help aid a cost, but it was people you wouldn't generically see intertwining on race days. And I think that having that weekend actually brought a lot of the people closer together, which was great for the spirit of the formula off the track, I think.
Yes, and I think that if I go all the way back to when the idea was first, when it was in its very, very infant stages, it was aimed at being an event that would try to glue things together and to give a central meeting point from people from the 3 different areas, and for a lot of people who go to Skegness and watch other events, because stock rods don't race there. It was potentially a once in a lifetime chance to race that circuit, which is a popular circuit in its own right. And now, sadly from a business perspective, it was anything but successful. But I don't want us to give up on it just because year 1 was no good.
Totally,
Year two at a different time of year may be better. And I think from an Autospeed perspective, we've been on tour to different places. We've enjoyed working with other promotions at different places, whether it be Northampton, King's Lynn, Caddenbeath, different places we've been to, and Skegness was another one. And we obviously didn't blow out our copybook because we were allowed back.
Yes, no, great. If you can just improve the infrastructure to get there. I think it took us 12 hours on.
Skegness is just a place where the closer you get to it, the slower you go.
Yeah, totally. And thankfully, being 2 months ahead, it was the weekend of the hottest week in almost history. I think.
Forever, yeah.
And my van doesn't have aircon. we were sweltering. It was hot.
You went in van cabriolet.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot better. Okay, but the Skegness track is. It sounds to me like you don't care what track it is. You enjoy racing a track.
100%. Yeah. If you said race around the pits, I'd race around the pits. I have this thing that whoever's, even if I'm at the back, whoever's in front of me, I've just got to be in front of them. It's just which I think you don't come here to drive around in circles as such. You come here to race, and whatever grade you are, you come here to win.
Yeah, a race by its very nature is going to be competitive.
Yeah.
And if you different people may have different targets at different levels, but there's still going to be a competitive edge. Otherwise it's a procession.
Yeah.
You're not here to. You are here to compete against one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand that. Okay. Well, fingers crossed the weather stays with us, and I wish you best of luck for the season.
Yeah, thank you.
On your travels.
Thank you very much.
Finally, this episode, we catch up with Formula 2 driver Adam Pearce. Here we are on the eve of a new season. How do you view yourself at the moment? Are you a Formula 2 driver that races regularly, or are you a micro F2 parent?
Oh, trying to be both, I think, Crispen, at the minute. Well, that's what it felt like last season anyway. Going to be leaning a little bit more towards the micro F2s with Rory this year. Do a little bit more travelling and fit mine in between on the off weekends, I think.
Mm-hmm. And obviously Rory's really enjoying it.
Yeah, really enjoying it. Looking forward to this year. He's off blue again, start of the year. And he wants to get to red, and he wants to do a bit more travelling. He's got certain tracks he wants to get to. He wants to go back to Skegness. Obviously he wants to do all of the local meetings. He wants to get on Shale again. Basically he wants to race every weekend.
That's great. I think that the micro F2s, it seems to have has a real social bonus for the youngsters. There's some that are quiet, so it helps bring them out of the shell. Some that are noisy, I don't know that it helps calm them down. But to see them make new friends with people from a long way away, and I think that's a really fantastic aspect to it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's good. It's a competitive sport. All of the parents are good as gold. It's always well run, and it's nice to see the kids in between races and at the end of the meeting they'll be kicking a football around or trying to pinch each other's sweets and generally just having a laugh and a joke, really. And it is nice to give them something outside of, say, football or rugby or cricket at school. They've got a different set of friends. They're learning different skill sets and just really seem to be enjoying life at the track. It's nice to see the next generation coming along.
For sure. I think it's always a great sign to see them race, semi-competitively, but then get out and just be kids.
Yeah, exactly. It is good to see.
Yeah, very much the case. So looking back to last season, how do you look back on it yourself? Your own racing?
Action-packed. Mine was a bit of a season to forget, really. A lot of crashing, a lot of learning with the car, a lot of changes. We made a lot of changes over the winter, hoping for a little bit better year. But it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable for many reasons. Being away with Dad was quite nice because, as you know, Dad used to be, well, he was the driving force behind everything when I was first racing the Formula 2. And he does come away with us a little bit again now, which is always good, laugh and a joke. Had some good weekends away. So yeah, looking forward to a better year this year.
Okay. Can you mentioned there from that first career, which was 20 years ago? Yeah,
good 20 years ago. Yeah.
Something like that. And can you compare and contrast it? How much the sport's changed? What's the most obvious?
I would say it's changed significantly in the fact that technology now is so much more readily available. Back when I was doing it before, if you had a set of scales, you were like at the top of the sport, basically. We didn't have scales. We'd always take it up to John and get it scaled and whatnot. But now everybody's got scales. Everybody knows roughly what the car should be set at. So I think the cars are more evenly based. It's become more professional, I would say. Everybody's on it. You've got to be on it, and you've got to be consistent every lap. If you have a couple of off laps, then that's the end of your race. Yeah, end of your race basically. So yeah, it's still 7 nights a week in the garage. Obviously, doing Rory's car, doing my car. Then you're looking after the trailer, looking after the van. So it is full time still. But I would say it's a lot more professional, a lot more. Well, back in the day, obviously, your top boys in the sport, they were scaling everything. Everything was top notch. Everything was on it. Now you've got white tops with exactly the same equipment, exactly the same level as the top boys did back in that time.
So the gap that I've tried to sort of draw this or imagine this, that the gap between the worst car and the best car has shrunk.
Yes.
Because the best cars have got a little bit better and the worst cars have got a heck of a lot better. And that's the reason that that gap has shrunk.
Yeah, definitely. You don't really see any old equipment as such out there anymore. If you do, it's all brought up to date as such. An old chassis will have new bits put on it, and obviously you got like RCEs and WRCs and things like that have upped the game. I think competitive cars are more accessible for people to get. So it's come on a lot from what it used to be. You can't go out there now with a car that's not set up properly and expect to be competitive at all.
Okay. And in terms of you mentioned that it's so much time spent in the garage in preparation. Do you think that is more time spent now than back then, or that's with each individual team, each individual driver's choice?
I'd say we probably spend more time scratching our head last season trying to get the car to go better and straightening bits and pieces, and buffing tyres. A lot of buffing tyres. That's one of my bugbears at the minute. Go out and buy a nice new tyre and then chuck half of it on the garage floor.
Not sure. He said.
Yeah, not sure.
It's 20 years ago to remember how much time we were spending in the garage back in those days.
A long time ago. A lot of beers, a wife, 2 children. A long time ago, mate. Yeah.
In terms of the, what about the atmosphere in the pit area? Do you think it's as much fun-filled, or that just depends on who you are? I guess.
A lot of that depends on who you're parked next to. I think there's still 1 or 2 boys rattling around from when I was doing it before, and we always have a good laugh and a joke. We don't try and take ourselves too seriously either. So if there's normally a bit of Mickey taking going on in the corner, we're normally involved with it somewhere, I'd say.
I think that's a vital part of it. I think that if you just go, if your day is dependent upon results, you're going to be disappointed more often than not, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a hobby. And I think some people lose sight of that sometimes. Yes, we all want to be there, we want to be competitive, but you've got to be having a smile on your face whilst you're doing it, have a laugh and a joke. If you're there and you're miserable, go and do something else. Have a week off.
Yeah, or put more sugar in your tea. Yeah, absolutely. So on the horizon, we've got open track days. One at St Day, one at Smeathart.
Yeah.
Bit of an insight into a practice day for how valuable do drivers see it?
Oh, very much so, especially this year, because I'd like to try the new tyres on the car, see how the car behaves on that. But for me, yeah, try and get the car set up a little bit, something like it, give it a bit of a shakedown, make sure it's all right, because it's been stripped over the winter, obviously. For Rory with the micro, I mean, it's all about seat time when they're that age.
Yeah.
So yeah, practice days, just less pressure, just go out, see what the cars are doing. I say good seat time for Rory. And hopefully it all comes back in one piece and not in a bin bag.
Yeah, an awful lot of work before the first meeting. That's not part of the script for practice day, no. Okay. And what about the weather on practice day? I appreciate it's beyond our control.
Oh, mate, it would be nice if it was dry.
Yeah?
Oh, I don't want to wet, like for Rory, wet practice day, that's all right. But I'd much prefer a dry practice day for myself.
I can understand that, and I feel that that's probably the stock answer. But it always leaves me wondering whether, well, actually, it's raining. I might be able to try different things in the rain that you perhaps wouldn't try on a race day.
Yeah, we did a lot of that last season with not a lot of success. Not a lot of success in the wet, mate. No, not like it used to be anyway. I used to be all right in the wet. I need to find my mojo again, I think.
So that's a little bit of looking back to last year and getting ready for this year. What are your thoughts for this year? Where you're saying you're trying to have a little bit more success or a little bit better year?
Now I've had a little bit of a play around, tinker with the car. I'm going to get a little bit more stuck in this year. I say royal we. I was hanging off a little bit last year, I think, just trying to stay a little bit out of the carnage, just trying to keep it going, just trying to get some results in and finish. And I think this year it'll be get stuck in a little bit more, have a bit of a go at it. And see what we can come up with.
Okay. Is it easy to? I don't think this is easy at all. Is it to think back to how the much younger person that you were back then? Is that have a bearing on how you approach things, or?
I think it's always in the back of your mind. I mean, 20 years ago, Dad would fix a lot of the bits and pieces. We were only running one car. I think I was a young, angry man and was just trying to destroy everything in sight. So there was a lot of crashing involved, but some good results as well. And I think as time goes on, you get a little bit more mellow. And I'm thinking, in the back of your mind, sometimes you're thinking, well, I've got this to do this week. Got to go to work, got to get Rory's car ready, got to get my car ready. I could do without ripping the back axle out of it on the Sunday. So yeah, I think it does. It's in the back of your mind sometimes. I think it ain't quite like it used to be.
Okay, that's interesting you say about an angry young. I have no recollection of you ever being angry. You must have kept that well hidden. Always appeared to me to be very even tempered. Perhaps you need someone like Rob Farrell to come and give you a horse bite before each race.
Not again.
How on earth did I think of him as being the most ideal candidate to issue one? You'd say. And so where are your plans for racing this year? Obviously St Day and Taunton would be your local ones.
Do St Day, Taunton, do a little bit of Bristol. We got a couple of Skegness meetings targeted. We'll see how the diesel prices go. We'll see how the season goes with my car. We're going to do a little bit further afield, I think, with Rory, but we've not really had a good sit down and think about realistically about the fixture list yet.
The wall planner's there.
The wall planner's there, mate, as you have seen. Yeah, so we've got to sit down seriously and have a little think about it.
You've got Aldershot as well. There's the one-off Aldershot meeting for Formula 2s, and of course you went last year and took pride of places being the first one to fall over there.
It wasn't even a rollover, was it? I just had a little gentle lie on my side. I think that is the first F2 semi-rollover at Aldershot.
For sure, yeah.
So claim to fame. Not a good one, but nonetheless, we'll take that.
Yeah, but there was it just seemed a day when there was a a multitude of people taking photographs, and that incident got photographed from left, from right, from centre, from above, from the crowd side.
It was. I don't know why we thought it was a good idea, but we'd played around with the car and we'd bunged new front suspension on it, and we'd not tried it anywhere. So we thought, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll go to Aldershot and try that. And yeah, the car was going all right up until that point, till I got squashed. And we got it all pieced back together. Well, I say we, me, Tom Clark and Steve Clark got it all pieced back together. So out, and it was all right. It was going around in oval shapes. And then we decided to whip the engine out in the end, because Charlie Lobb blew his motor. Right. And he wanted to borrow mine for, was it the
British Championship?
British, yeah. So we whipped the motor out, as you do, in the middle of the pits, and Charlie had it in his. Yeah.
Excellent. So everyone at Aldershot was like, look at this crazy Cornish team helping out another crazy Cornish team.
Yes, exactly that.
But that's not going to put you off from going back to Aldershot again?
No, it's all right.
Not at all. And of the three regular Southwest tracks, with St Day and with Taunton and Bristol, have you a favourite? Is there one you don't like, or how do you view each of the three?
Oh, I think it's got to be St Day's got to be the favourite, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the tri-oval, isn't it? It is. Yeah, that's got to be the favourite track, I think. Followed by, I got to say Taunton actually. Really? Used to be Bristol. I do like Bristol. Mm-hmm. That's a tough call actually. I'd say probably Bristol and Taunton on a level par, I would say, but St Day's a favourite.
Okay, I think I would say that's probably untypical. I think from my experience, I think most people that go to Bristol seem to fall in love with it. I think possibly because Bristol looks so daunting with a little bit of a hill, but when you get out there and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not racing a car, but I think people look and think, blimey, look at this hill, and when they get out there, they find that bend is actually a little bit more generous than the top bend. The top bend is much more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, the top bend can be a little bit skittish if you get it wrong. Yeah. So don't get me wrong, I've been in both corners in the wrong bits, yeah. But yeah, no, I like St Day. St Day's all right.
Okay. I think I'm basing this on feedback with regards to St Day, whereby I've heard drivers. I'm going to quote him. I think 960 AD Whitehead when it was semi-final weekend, and he said, because he went to all three tracks in the space of 3 days, and he said, I really enjoyed Bristol, and I love Taunton, can't wait to go back. St Day, never coming again, thank you. And I think that St Day is very much, it's you fall in love with it and you want it to be closer to home if you're from outside the region. Yeah. And if you're in the region, you've really got to embrace it, because there's always going to be a handful of meetings there, and if you disregard one of the tracks, you're going to be left with a bit of a shortage of racing opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
So
no, I think St Day's all right if you're on it. It's pretty good, but if you make one little mistake and drop off a tar, sometimes she can be a cruel mistress. You can have a big old wreck down there every now and again. But then most tracks are like that, aren't they?
And also the varying width of St Day. Some places are very wide, some places a little bit narrow.
Yes.
I always think it'd be very difficult for someone getting started. I think it would be quite daunting because there's not many places to hide.
No.
Whereas I think, again, tell me if I'm wrong, but Taunton, there isn't much room at Taunton, but it seems a little bit more generous if you're
compared to what it used to be.
Yes.
Yeah, Taunton used to be a lot tighter, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was a little bit unforgiving, but it's all right. You've got enough room to get out of the way if you're in trouble or whatever. Normally, if you take hard it, you can kind of stay away from the fence a little bit, or just give it a glance and blow.
I think Taunton as well. The layout of Taunton does present several races that build up to last bend opportunities. I don't think there's nowhere to hide if you're leading the race going into the last bend at Taunton. But I think St Day, I don't know. We've had some exciting last bends, but it's much more difficult to get something on the last lap.
You can't quite get across the curb like you can at Taunton, can you?
I think at St Day, I guess that we've seen it quite often. When people start the last lap, they have to make the challenge going into turns 1 and 2. Leaving it to 3, 4, and 5 is
a bit too late.
Is not such a recipe for success. Well, thanks for that, Adam. That's an interesting insight, particularly the time spent in the garage. I think I think that for those people that don't race, even for those of us that are officials, I think time and again we have no real understanding of how much time goes into preparing the cars.
Well, you have good weeks and you have bad weeks. Some weeks when it all comes home in the bin bag, you've got to spend all week with the welder out and whatnot and putting fresh bits on, and probably the week after, if you've had a good week, you'll just spend a week organising spares, making bits and pieces and buffing tyres.
Okay, on that note, we'll get off the buffing tyres. Adam, I wish you the best of luck for the season ahead, and same again for Rory, and you know, keep seeing those kids and the infants enjoying one another's company as well as racing against one another.
Cool, ideal.
Great stuff. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Autospeed podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks also to everyone that attended the first meeting at the United Downs Raceway. During the course of these open track days, we'll be hoping to catch up with a few more of the drivers ahead of the new season, and those will be featured in next week's episode. I'm Crispen Rosevear of the Autospeed podcast.
If you've enjoyed Autospeed Podcast, home of stock car and banger racing in the Southwest, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future podcasts.